welcome back to the monthly news roundup from the world of yachts. I really hope you're enjoying this kind of video. I'm definitely enjoying doing the research and making them for you, but do feel free to leave me feedback if you think there's ways that I can improve. Before we get into the news, I wanted to tell you that my first ever proper walkthrough video has gone live on the channel. It's a tour of the Azimuth Motor Yacht H. And I'm really proud of this one actually, and I really appreciate everyone who's taking the time to leave me nice comments. I'm reading all of them and taking everything on board. And if you haven't watched that video yet, I will leave a link for you down below in the description box. All right, let me tell you what's happened in the news in the last month. All right, first of all, let's talk about Feadship, because this Dutch yacht builder is having a pretty busy month. And actually, they're active across almost every stage of construction right now, so check this out. Starting off at the very early stages of the yacht building cycle, we have this 89 metre or 291 feet super yacht known only as Feadship 828. Now, this is still a bare hull, and she has been launched at Feadship's partner site, which is called NMC, and it will now move to Feadship's main site for the next stage of construction. Once this yacht is completed, she will look more like this. This is a more recent launch at Feadship, an 100 metre or 328 feet super yacht known only as Project 824. This yacht has got a lovely design team behind it. It's Jaco Jansen and Liagra. What an absolute dream team. So on this yacht, I really like the look of that cascading transom that you'll see at the back there. I think that's very interesting. Feadship had another high-profile launch this month, and it was an Explorer called Valor, which I have a feeling you guys are going to quite like. So this is a 79.5 metre or about 260 feet super yacht, formerly known as Project 715. And this yacht is one of Feadship's more eco-focused projects, and she's reportedly capable of up to 2 days of emission-free cruising, and she's equipped with up to 5 times the electrical capacity of Savannah, which is one of Feadship's famously sustainable focused super yachts from 2015. I quite like how Savannah is kind of like the benchmark for Feadship's eco-focused super yacht projects. There are some other features that I thought were cool on board this yacht, and one of them is a doggy relief area for the owner's 3 golden retrievers, those dogs that are having quite a nice life. And there's also a custom staircase designed by Bannenberg and Rowell, which is made up of, listen to this, 48,001 parts, no more and no less. All right, on to deliveries. The first is the 75.8 metre or 249 feet 1, which is that really nice, slightly vintage looking Feadship, which was actually for sale, and she has now sold and has been renamed Les Cinq. She is now cruising happily under her new ownership. The second delivery by Feadship this month is the 79.9 metre or 262 feet Faith. Now, we talked about this yacht briefly in an older video, and I said I was confident she was going to be called Faith, but happily now it's official. And I think we can safely say that this yacht is owned by Lawrence Stroll. Now, this yacht is smaller than the original Faith, which is now called Sophia, and it's thought that Stroll wanted a smaller boat because he wanted the flexibility of being able to access smaller bays and shallower water areas. Okay, the final part of the Feadship cycle is that the 84 metre or 273 feet Savannah has sold. Now, she was actually sold a little while ago. I think it was in April, but it wasn't announced until this month, so I'm going to count it. And as I said earlier, this boat is about a decade old, but she still looks, in my opinion, very sleek and very contemporary, and that is in part thanks to those very sharp lines and gleaming paint job. Remember, she was for a while the world's largest metallic painted object, and she's famous for this underwater viewing room, which is another feature that I touched on briefly in an older video because it's something that I just absolutely love. Okay, I really want to know which from the selection you're most curious to see more of. For me, personally, I think that Project 824 is one I'm really interested in because of the design team. So Liagra crops up in another video that I shot recently, and that should be published on the channel soon. And then Jaco Jansen is the designer best known for the yacht known as SISG 818, then it was called Pi, and I think now it's 818 again. But that yacht has that gorgeously, complexly curved exterior with those windows that are seamlessly double curved. So what that means is they're curved both on the horizontal and on the vertical. The result was absolutely incredible from the outside, and I can say from the inside as well, as I was fortunate enough to step on board this yacht a few years ago during her debut. Okay, sorry, there was a lot of Feadship focus there. Let's now talk about the Monaco Grand Prix. Now, as we're filming this, the Grand Prix has just wrapped up here in Monaco, and outside of the lovely Northrop & Johnson office, we had a fantastic view right over the racetrack and the yachts in the port. Now, would you believe me if I told you that there were around 269 yachts over 24 metres, or about 78 feet, in the port and in the Monaco anchorage over the course of Friday to Sunday? So it was an absolutely bumper turnout of super yachts. One of the largest that was there was Luna, the 90 metre, 295 feet Ocean Co, and the 101 metre or 331 feet Symphony, which is the Feadship owned by Bernard Arnault, CEO of LVMH. And he was actually there walking the docks during the Grand Prix. Okay, some quite sad news now, because I promised to keep you up to date on the Beijian tragedy. So the first thing that happened this month is a diver died during the salvage operation. Now, the details still haven't been officially released yet, but we know the diver was a specialist 39-year-old identified in the media as Rob Cornelius Maria Huyben. Now, it's believed he was struck by a piece of debris while using underwater machinery, and reporting in The Guardian noted that footage captured by the underwater cameras cut off shortly before the incident. The salvage was temporarily suspended but has now been resumed, and the salvage team has since retrieved a few pieces of Beijian's wreck, including the mast and the anchor. Now, after the sad death, the Marine Accident Investigation Branch released an interim report into the tragedy. I'm going to summarise some of the findings here, but I'm also going to leave you a link to the full report in the description box down below. Okay, the first point is that the weather on the night of that incident worsened incredibly quickly, going from relatively peaceful to seriously heavy winds in under 20 minutes. The actual moment that Beijian heeled over 90 degrees took just 15 seconds, so the times that the crew and the passengers were able to react was very short. The second thing is that Beijian dragged anchor 400 metres in a little over 10 minutes. So as I said, this entire sequence of events happened very quickly. Third of all, the keel was up at the time of the incident. Now, there was a lot of debate as to whether the keel had been raised or lowered, and we now know that the keel was up, which of course would have affected the stability of the vessel. I'm going to read you a quote from the report now. If the wind was blowing directly onto Beijian's beam and the yacht was in the motoring condition, a gusting wind speed in excess of 63.4 knots would likely result in the vessel capsizing, irrespective of any interactions. It is possible that Beijian was similarly vulnerable to winds of less than 63.4 knots. Those vulnerabilities were not identified in the stability information book carried on board. Consequently, these vulnerabilities were also unknown to either the owner or the crew of Beijian. So the report isn't directly attributing blame or singling out one single factor that caused the accident. Actually, what the report really does is paint a very vivid and very harrowing depiction of the events that led up to Beijian sinking. To determine what actually caused the accident, they will need to bring up the hull to inspect it properly. As I said, I'll leave the full report in the description below. It is quite upsetting in parts. In the brokerage world, there were some juicy price drops on the second-hand market this month. One of them was a $4.1 million price drop on the 63 metre or 206 feet Rossinavi Utopia 4. This is such a nice looking Rossinavi. It's one of those original, I call them Miami style super yachts because that's what the CCO of Rossinavi used to call them whenever we spoke about these boats. But I think they're called that because they're very sexy, very sporty, and they have shallow drafts, so you can actually cruise them around the waterways of Miami quite easily. The interior reminds me of like a oceanfront beach club, very breezy, very airy, but still chic and sophisticated. So Utopia 4 is now asking $39.9 million, and she's on with Lon McCluskey and Josh Gobranson of Fraser. If you want to find out more about the yacht, I'll leave a link to the listing in the description box below. Finally, on to some sailing yacht sales. First up, Royal Houseman has announced the contract for a plus 80 metre or about 262 feet super sailer known only as Project 412. All we know is that it'll be built in aluminium and it'll be built for a returning customer. The second piece of sailing yacht news also comes from a builder based in the Netherlands, and that is Vitters. Now, they've just signed for a 63 metre or about 206 feet flybridge sloop called Project Dreamer. Again, there's a great design team behind this project. It's Malcolm McKeon Yacht Design on the exteriors and M2 Atelier on the interiors. And one of the big challenges about this yacht will be keeping the volume below 500 GT. So I'll be very keen to see this yacht on the water by 2028. Okay, that is everything from me today. I really hope you enjoyed hearing about everything that happened in the last 4 weeks in the yachting world. If you want to send in news tips or make requests for particular stories that you want me to cover, you absolutely can message me on Instagram. Thanks for watching, see you soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave David and I a comment. We love hearing from you. Done, finished. I already know the comments are going to be everyone asking when David's coming back. I don't know when he's coming back. It's just me now.